What is this thing called love? This funny thing called love. Just who can solve its mystery? Why should it make a fool of me? Hey everyone. Yes, it's made a fool of me many times. I'm over here in Portugal for about another 3 weeks. Didn't realize I was going to try to do some videos over here, but I bought this little Roland FP10, and I'm sitting here between Cascais and Lisbon, overlooking the Marginal and whatever body of water that is out there, the Atlantic. It's kind of like half the Lisbon Sea and part of the Atlantic or whatever. A lot of cruise ships go by and other boats. And, you know, I'm having a good time over here, but I got to say, I miss my pianos. I miss my life, trying to get away from, tragedy and grief that struck me last year. And, you can run, but you can't hide. So anyway, got a great song here by Cole Porter. Just going to talk a little bit about improv on it. I first heard this song by Frank Sinatra. It's a slow ballad, and I just really loved the song. And, then I heard that the jazz guys got a hold of it and just tore it to shreds. But it's a good song to improvise on for sure, because it's full of 2-5-1s, and we just love those. So we got a 2-5-1 in F minor, all right, and what we call a minor 2-5-1 because it ends on F minor. Usually has a minor 7 flat 5. That's G minor 7 flat 5. As the 2 chord. The 5 chord will not have a 9. It will not have a 13. It will have flat 9s or flat 13s. And of course you can get away with the sharp 9 as well, or even the sharp 11. All right, or we could call it the flat 5 also. It depends on who you believe. All right, so how do we get scales out of these? I mean, people are always telling you, don't use scales to improvise. Improvising is not about playing scales. Well, shit, yes it is. you gotta know the scales. That way you can, pick out at least some of the notes that are going to sound good. You don't want to just play a chord and start playing, a bunch of random notes. If you play a bunch of random notes in the scale, then it'll sound good. All right, that was random. I was just bouncing around, no clue, just bouncing around. So, what scale is that? Well, what shall we call it? I mean, it's a Locrian sharp 2. A good way to think about this sort of minor 7 flat 5. Go up a half a step to A flat, just to play an A flat major scale. And then take that A flat and just change it to an A. All right, so you go to A flat major scale, but without the A flat, you play an A instead. So, all right, or you could use the A flat. Either one, you could use them both. All right, and for the C, we're going to use the altered scale. We could probably use the diminished scale as well, but they're similar because they start off the same. All right, they start off the same, and then just there. That's the altered scale. All right. All right. And really, I'm not. I mean, I've done this for so long that I know what the melody is going to sound like before it even comes out of my fingers. And that just comes from experience and doing it for hours and days and weeks and months on end. But you don't even have to really have that kind of intuitive sense about what's going to come out. If you just kind of move your fingers in interesting ways, like for instance, instead of just going up the scale like this, just skip a note. skip some notes, and know the scale well enough that you can do stuff like that, or even 3-note things. And you'll find lots of little patterns will start to emerge. Another thing to do is think about using the scale, and then leap. If you're going up the scale, then leap down, or if you leap up, then come back down the scale. Like. All right. I've had that idea in my head for a long time, just from studying counterpoint. But I had one of my, I call him a competitor, but I like the guy so much, I never think of him that way. Jeremy Siskind has a great channel on YouTube. I'm linking to it down in the description. And he has done a video for me. I asked him to do one because I thought I'd be away for 6 weeks without doing anything. And, he talks a little bit about that in the video. And I'll have that up for you very, very shortly if I haven't put it up already. But please subscribe to his channel. If I ever retire from this, I'm giving this channel to him because I think he's really probably the best, not just teacher, but player and personality. I think all those things, come together very nicely on his channel. So I would recommend that. Other great channels, Christian from Berlin and Open Studio. Paul Toby has a nice channel out. Amy Nolte. Those are keyboard players that I try to watch their stuff because I learn stuff from them. All right, so that's a lot of bullshit on 3 chords, isn't it? Here we go. Another thing, too, that occurs to me is that what we call enclosures really help to give you the jazz sound. And all you're doing with an enclosure is, and let's go on to D minor 7 flat 5, you're taking the notes of the chord and then you enclose them. Like I'm going to enclose this like, and then this one. And you can do it chromatically or, and there's other ways too, like that, you could use more than one note. So, and there's all kinds of great little things you can do. Like I made up these little exercises once that goes like, just have a whole bunch of enclosures in there, and it gives you that kind of jazz bebop sound. Because those bebop guys, that's what they do. They do that a lot. A little approach, things like that. But and notice I was arpeggiating up and then came back down with a little bit of chromatic notes there. And then a little bit of blues scale on that 5 chord. Thinking I'm going to go to C minor, but all right, so it's kind of a setup, like when you're trading stocks, you look for a good setup. The setup is a 2, which is a minor 7 flat 5, and then the dominant chord, which is going to be altered usually, and then it usually goes to a minor chord, but sometimes it goes to a major chord. Just like when you're trading, you got a really perfect setup, all looks perfect, it's gonna break out, and you buy 100 shares, you buy 1,000 shares, and it fails. So this is a fail here. Major chord, but it's a surprise and it's nice. Does that again. Now that F minor 6 would be a good way to do it. And that's the exact same chord as D minor 7 flat 5, so. All right, let's get to the bridge. Take it to the bridge. We got a 2-5-1. Now this is a standard one in B flat, so let's use the B flat scale. All right, I just used the B flat scale there. Nothing wrong with that. Could I have done something different? That was. There's a little enclosure there. Another enclosure right there. going for some of those flat nines and sharp nines. Flat nine, sharp nine. That to me is the coolest part of the song. When you get to that, what is it, A flat seventh? All right, now we're just on B flat. Usually when you're doing a dominant chord, like a whole step below the key of the song. I don't know if the song's in B flat, but right there it is. So we get down there. We usually, wouldn't play like an A flat altered. We play what we call an A flat unaltered, which has a 13 and a 9. It could have the sharp 11 as well, but it's kind of considered an unaltered interval there. And that's the scale right there. All right, but I always like to do something kind of cool with it, like, and then do the exact same thing on G. All right, and maybe I do like a rootless voicing. All right, so put that sharp 11 in. How about if I did that on A flat too? And then back to the 2-5-1 in F. Safe. Portugal's a wonderful place. Too many Americans over here. Too many people coming over here, driving up the real estate prices. It's pretty tough to move over here. I'm not going to. I'm going to stay in the States. People are very nice and friendly, really nice. Amazing bargains on food in the grocery store. I mean, you can eat for nothing over here. If you eat what the Portuguese eat, you'll pay very little. They don't eat peanut butter, obviously, because they had to pay €5, €5 for a jar. But if you like sardines and stuff like that, fish and meat. Even the smallest little grocery stores have these wonderful fish markets and meats, butchers and whatever you want to call them. Very nice, low prices. I rented a car, €117. That's about $130 for a week, a whole week. Gas is expensive, but I drove all over the country. $130, not at all. I went to a piano store and a little music store as well, and said, "Can I come in and practice for an hour? Maybe once a week," because I didn't know I was going to buy this keyboard. And I said I'd be happy to pay for the room or something. And they said, "Okay, we'll get back to you. We'll let you know." They €25 per. That's like $30 per hour to go and practice on a room that they're not even using. It's like 10 o'clock in the morning or something before the students come in. So I'm trying to learn how to say "f you" in Portuguese, but anyway, they're nice enough people. I can't blame people for trying to make a buck. All right, everyone, take care. Adios, hasta luego. Oh, and another thing too, I'm going to give this keyboard away to somebody over here in Portugal. So if anybody knows someone who needs a keyboard, I'm going to try to find somebody in need. I was maybe going to drive up to one of the smaller little cities and find a place to donate it. But anyway, anybody can help me out about that, know of any kind of donation places, especially if it's like musical kind of stuff. Let me know. All right, everyone, thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, send me money on Venmo. No, I'm kidding. But there's a link down there if you're so inclined. And talk at you again real soon. Bye-bye.